Welcome to the 19 Monaco Grand Prix. We expect 30,000 people. That is only race on the limit of the city. We have 22 best drivers in the world and 16 qualified for the first place. I drove it this race and I won in 1931. And enjoy. I hope to enjoy you too. Thank you very much.
We'll continue with our sports spectacular after this message. We're taking a guided tour of some of the streets in Monaco. Not to see the sights, but to get an idea of the circuit that 16 of the world's greatest race drivers will use as their course. This is the Boulevard Albert Ier, running along the end of the harbor at Monaco. The cars corner sharply, switching back. Past the pits, into an uphill straight. Past the Avenue Princesse Alice. Flat out past the casino. Dipping down the short street at over 100 miles per hour. Turning sharply again. A downhill S-curve, past the railroad station at 50 miles per hour. Another turn, and onto the harbor leg at 120 miles per hour, down the Boulevard Louis II. This is the fastest part of the course. The cars will reach speeds of 160 miles per hour. And the most dangerous because of the tunnel ahead, where drivers have no leeway to maneuver in case of an accident or a pileup in the dark. Past this downhill straight, the cars race into the famous chicane, where a few years ago, Albert Ascari lost control and dropped into the harbor. Into the Quai des États-Unis in top gear. Most drivers feel that here they have the best chance to outmaneuver their competitors. This is where in 1957, Stирлинг Мосс and the late Peter Collins, trying to pass each other, crashed into the seawall. We've just completed the 1.9-mile course. The drivers will run it 100 times. Speed trial. The streets have been closed to all traffic except the race cars. 3 days of trials will determine the starting lineup. Race Marshal Louis Chiron, working against time, has to control the individualists that make up the driving team. Object, to qualify. How? By turning in the fastest lap time. The driver and the mechanic agree that the car is ready. A full fuel tank will take the car through the 2.5-hour race. There's no time for pit stops or extensive repairs. A stop for any reason may lose the race. The only way the driver and the mechanic can test the condition of their machine is during these speed trials. Belgium's Olivier Gendebien in an Emeryson going out for a qualification lap. He's off. Past the railroad, drifting through the S-curve, and completing his circuit. Trintignant ready to go. He's a two-time winner, Monaco, and certainly a man to watch. After completing a lap, his official time is recorded. As each driver moves out, the others watch to evaluate the competition. Comparisons are measured in fractions of seconds. Part of the color of the race comes from the many nationalities driving here. Australia's young Bruce McLaren driving a British Cooper Climax. Another Australian and teammate of McLaren's is Jack Brabham, present world champion, who moved out for a speed trial. Tony Brooks of England with Gordon Wilkinson, chief engineer of BRM. Checking ends for BRM is team driver Graham Hill of England.
And then we have Julio with the 60-degree engine who are in. Number 42, Maurice Santino with the...
Competing against the factory teams is England's Stirling Moss. This is truly an international... And from Italy, the favorite, the Formula One Ferrari. The drivers, California's Phil Hill, Germany's Count Wolfgang von Trips, and young Ricci Gintera from California. The speed trials continue. Each driver tries to improve his lap time to assure himself a place in the starting grid. There are 13 turns in the circuit, 90 gear shifts per lap, 9,000 in the 2.5-hour race. They travel at speeds that range from 160 miles an hour down to 20 miles per hour. The tension lessens. The drivers have finished their time trials and the decisions are no longer up to them.
The check of flag is out on the end of Formula One practice. Formula One practice is finished.
drivers qualified to make up the 16. The starting grid in full, starting from the slowest on the back of the grid, is as follows. At the back, number 24, world champion Jack Brabham with his Cooper. He only did one brief practice period and then flew back to continue his qualification trials for Indianapolis. Next up, number 42, Maurice Trintignant, Cooper. 32, Cliff Harrison, Lotus. Number 8, Michael May with another Lotus. And then number 6, Hans Hermann, Porsche. Number 22, John Surtees with the Yeoman Credit Cooper. Number 4, Dan Gurney's Porsche. Number 2, Joachim Bonnier from Sweden with his Porsche. And then number 16, Tony Brooks, BRM, on the outside of the third row. Next to him, number 26, Bruce McLaren with the Works Cooper. Number 40, Wolfgang von Trips with the Ferrari. Second row, number 38, Phil Hill's Ferrari. And number 18, Graham Hill with the BRM. And then on the outside of the front row, number 28, young Jim Clark with the Lotus. In the center of the front row, the young American, number 36, Ricci Gintera, with the latest Formula One Ferrari. And in pole position, once again, after a brilliant lap in 1 minute 39.1 seconds, Stirling Moss himself with Rob Walker's Lotus. And that is the starting order for the Grand Prix de Monaco.
We'll continue with our show, but first, this important message. This is a Formula One racing car. This year, the Formula Ones were changed from an engine displacement of 2,500 to 1,500 cc's, which is about 1/2 smaller than the average American compact engine. This was done in order to reduce speeds, promote safety, and to induce manufacturers to sponsor teams by lowering costs. There's a great deal of controversy regarding this change. Many of drivers object. For instance, Maston Gregory.
We're afraid this year that we might have a little trouble. More drivers will be able to drive these slower cars, and they'll be able to drive them faster. They won't be able to do it consistently, but they'll be able to do it for a time. And it's going to look like there'll be more competition, where actually I think the caliber of driving is not going to be quite so good. It's going to be easier to drive these cars, and some fellows are going to think that they can go a little bit faster than maybe they should. Anyway, I don't like it. I'd like horsepower.
Where do you feel the greatest competition lies?
Oh, I'd say the Ferrari definitely. In this race would be Phil Hill, Von Trips, Ricci Gintera, all three of them. They're going to give us a lot of trouble. They have a lot of horsepower with the new car, and the chassis works very well.
This is the Ferrari team. At the end of the speed trials, the team held a critique. They discussed their own failings and advantages. And more important, they discussed the techniques and the cars of their opponents. Out of these talks, a strategy is developed, one that will see them through the race. The Ferrari is the favored car in this race, and with good reason. They have probably won more Grand Prix races than any other car in the world.
1:41.9, credo che sarà in questa linea. Quindi in seconda linea esattamente. Bonnier va molto bene. E la macchina.
I asked driver Phil Hill what his team talked about.
Well, in general, about all we've talked about is how the other cars have gone in relation to our cars. And also, we've talked about what we think our own capabilities are. And we've had a few suggestions from the team managers to what speed we ought to try to do. Also, we talked about a few ailments that each one of our cars individually had. Tripp's car had one fault, mine had a few other things that were wrong with it, and well, all of them needed a few little things. And what we've done is tried to talk over all these things and try to ascertain what speed we might be able to go during the race. And that was about it.
English car.
This is the Porsche. Porsche has a long history in the manufacture of rear-engine sports cars. But this model is their very first attempt at a Formula One racing car.
It's right ahead of us right now, technically. That might be what
really trying to try to catch them.
I think the British cars are behind.
The cars experienced some problems during the trial run, and a great deal of interest centers about its performance during the race tomorrow. I asked Joachim Bonnier to tell us a little bit about the car.
Well, we've been discussing before the Grand Prix of Monaco, which is due to be held tomorrow. What we found out after practice today with our Porsches. We got a few new things on the cars, particularly the engine, and also the front suspension is brand new. The engine is now fuel injection and it's been working very well indeed, much better than we hoped for. With the suspension, we had a bit of trouble today. We had shock absorbers a bit too loose, shuddering, but we hope to put it right for the race tomorrow. Also, for the future, we hope to be up with the Ferraris. That is engine-wise, they're definitely ahead of us right now. And chassis-wise, the English might be ahead of everybody. Obviously, they don't have the engines that the Ferraris have, and I think also our engine right now is slightly ahead of theirs. But very shortly, I hope we'll be able to beat them in the Grand Prix circuit.
There's a sense of anticipation in the crowd in these last few minutes before the race. Last-minute adjustments are made. The expected tensions of the drivers are hidden underneath a much too obvious calm. The last-minute check of the equipment. A last-minute look at the cars. Regulations create order out of confusion.
Un minuto e non parla, e la macchina non parla. Nessuno non deve partire, è lui che deve partire. Nessuno non deve partire. Che si può spingere dopo. No!
Drivers, will you please meet in front of Monsieur Giron, the director of the race. Drivers, please come up. Monsieur le conducteur, venez joindre. Monsieur Giron, directeur de la course, qui aura la ligne de départ en vitesse minute. Fellows, let's get this race going.
The drivers are called together for a last-minute briefing.
Pour la première fois dans les annales des courses automobiles, c'est un ancien débat que cette délicate tâche est confiée. Je vais m'employer de mon mieux. Je compte sur vous. Je compte sur vous. Ensuite,
They are reminded what the different flags mean. They are warned about which corners have been made more dangerous by oil and rubber slicks laid down during the practice run.
vous connaissez
told again about the international rules and regulations governing the event.
Je vous demande de respecter les signaux qui vous seront faits et de montrer votre sportivité. Vous savez que toute voiture rejointe doit céder la place.
From the moment the drivers step into their cars, they leave behind their mechanics, their managers, their well-wishers. They have only themselves to rely on now. Themselves and the car.
Moving up to number 42, Maurice Plantignon with the Serenissima Cooper Maserati, one of the old leaf spring Coopers with the new 4-cylinder Maserati engine. Number 42, Cliff Allison with the...
Each man knows the other, and yet the race is a lonely thing, an exciting thing, a purely personal thing, unexplainable to anyone except the man in the cockpit.
Unfortunately, Jimmy Clark had a sprain with his car after doing a tremendous lap in the first practice session, and tremendous efforts have been going on in the local garage to rebuild it. They really have done a tremendous job, and there's no question about it. In top trim platform, and decided not to bring it out today, but to concentrate on getting it really ready so that it doesn't start with the real race tomorrow. And in this hour, similar car, they've both come to ready. Then the two teammates
Countdown starts. The flag drops. They're off, jockeying for position in the first 100 yards. At the first turn, Ginther and number 36 has the lead. The field springs out as they head towards the casino. Station turn is Ginther, Moss, Bonnier, Herman, Graham Hill, McLaren, and Phil Hill. Harbor leg, they're doing about 150 miles per hour. At the end of the first lap, Ginther is leading Moss by 5 seconds. Bonnier third, Herman fourth. Each lap is being driven as though it was the last one of the race. There's no let-up in concentration and hope. Ginther has a lead of 6 seconds now. Smaller engines of this year's car has not slowed the pace. Laps are being made in 1 minute and 37 seconds, faster than any previous year. We'll be back in a moment after this brief pause. Spectators crowd windows of apartments, balconies of restaurants for vantage points to watch the flying cars. Former heavyweight champion Ingemar Johansson on the left is a real fan. The road is sanded to soak up oil lost from cars. Hans Hermann's Porsche drifts around the station corner. Ginther 36, Moss 20. And Ginther still holds off Moss as they go through the harbor chicane. Less than 5 seconds separate the leaders. Ginther, Moss, Bonnier. Pull out, Moss keeps pressing Ginther. Passing the starting grid, it's still Ginther, Moss, and Bonnier's Porsche. Moss pushes, trying to force Ginther into an error. On the 14th lap, Moss makes his move. He passes Ginther as they start towards the casino. Moss, number 20, takes the lead. Moss, lying by the waterfront. The new order. First, Moss, number 20. Now second, Bonnier, number 2. And Ginther, number 36, drops to third. Mechanical trouble for Graham Hill. World champion Jack Brabham, number 24, in the pit. Whatever his trouble was, Graham Hill is out, and he's just a stoic spectator. There goes leader Moss. Phil Hill is now second, having passed Ginther and Bonnier. Jack Brabham and his Cooper leave the pit. Here come the leaders, Moss, Hill, and Ginther. But where is Bonnier's Porsche? Jacques Bonnier's Porsche is finished. Bonnier runs back to the pit. He's unable to fix his car. There's a disappointed driver. It's a three-car race now. Moss in the Lotus, followed by Hill and Ginther in Ferrari. Michael May's Lotus begins to smoke. Probably a ruptured oil line. John Surtees of England is out of the race. Michael Mays has to drop out, leaving 12 in the race. Jim Clark, number 28, signals that he's pulling in. Hill and Ginther in Ferraris, running nose to tail, chase after Moss. Ginther seems to have the faster car. It appears he could pass Hill. Savoni, Ferrari team manager, worries about how to catch Moss. A decision must be made. Signals are given to the Ferraris on the 73rd lap. The order? For Ginther to pass Hill and catch Moss. Ginther passes Hill according to signal and moves into second place. Ginther, trying to catch Moss, does a lap at 72 miles per hour. Incredible on this twisting course. Ginther has closed to within 3.5 seconds of Moss. The new tactics might pay off. crowd wonders if Moss can hold his first-place position in a year-old car against the very latest Ferrari. Gинter, driving on the edge, slams to within 3 seconds of Moss. Starting the last lap, the position still holds. Moss. Gинter matching Moss's record lap time, but still behind. It's Stирлинг Мосс, first man to win the Grand Prix of Monaco 3 times. Second across the line is Rичi Gintera. The car still looks fresh. The driver shows obvious signs of strain, heat, and hard work. The 195-mile race was driven at an average speed of 70 miles per hour, the fastest ever for Monte-Carlo. Rичi Ginter's second place showed that the young Californian can hold his own with the world's best.
I didn't go any faster than I was going, and they tried to make me go. Ricci was sitting behind me for hours. He could go much faster than I could. I kept waiting for him to make him go by. No, they wouldn't let him go by. So finally, when he went by, he went away like a rocket.
He was right after most of the came by. But he didn't get it.
Stирлинг Мосс receives his prize, the gold cup for the 19th Grand Prix from Prince Pierre of Monaco. Stirling Moss has one more lap to make. A victory drive around the circuit to take the cheers of the crowds for a victory won by 3 seconds and 15 years of racing experience.